Imagine the entire galaxy at your fingertips, the inky black of space punctuated by the brilliant glow of distant stars, and each one a destination waiting to be discovered. This then is the idea, the very concept of Starship Simulator, a game that is, well, kind of promising to turn this vision into reality. And yeah, promises is very much the key word here. The Steam page speaks about a very real starship with crew members at 200 people strong, all requiring food and healthcare. It mentions the ability to send probes to the surface of alien worlds and retrieve all manner of interesting samples, and of course the ability to make first contact with procedurally generated alien races. Now, I haven't seen any sign nor sound of any of that, no sight whatsoever, so we're not going to focus on the promises that are there on the Steam page. Instead, we're going to look at what's available in the demo that we can play right now. So we're having a look at this demo today because it is a part of Steam Next Fest, that great time of year when Steam really start promoting some indie titles that are worth checking out. Not quite sure about this one just yet, but I guess we'll find out given time. Now, it's very obvious that this game is very heavily inspired by Star Trek, and yet that's the polite way of saying it, to be perfectly blunt. Star Trek all round here, to be perfectly honest. Now, I have heard that things might be different once the game releases into its final form, but again, there's no way to know for sure exactly what that's going to be or when it's going to arrive. At any rate, here we are on the bridge, and it looks like one of these is the captain's chair or the exo chair. I'm not sure which we're sitting in here. I assume this is the captain's chair. We can't do too much from here other than control the lights. From the other consoles, we can control navigation as well as a few other things. I'm going to have a look at that in just a bit. But yeah, let's cycle through some of these very quickly. We've got yellow alert, red alert. That red flashing will probably be a bit annoying. We've got emergency light in here, which I guess we would enable after the red alert signal. And then we've got disco mode. Fun to see that. Not sure of the purpose, but I assume it's here just to test lighting. Or, you know, it could be inspired by Orville or something like that. And yeah, the classic alien virus. At any rate, let's switch that lighting back to condition normal, and we'll have a look at one of the other consoles around the bridge here. Now, most of the consoles are not actually fully functional yet. A lot of them are work in progress, as you can see by the little sticky note. We can raise and lower blast shields, which seem to give us some protection from the windscreens there and what's going on outside, although the top glass isn't protected. Over at the front of the bridge, we've got the helm. From here we can control the ship and navigate to different destinations, and yes, we can fly to various different planets. In fact, the demo contains a full-scale 1-to-1 Milky Way. There's not that many games that can boast that. Outside the ship we can see again that heavy Star Trek inspiration, although again it's only containing that saucer section. A little bit too dark actually. We're going to jump back inside and pitch down so the light is shining on the top of the hull and you'll get a slightly better view. It seems that for the most part this exterior is untextured. We're looking at more or less what I'd call a grey box. Doesn't seem to be completed, although on the screenshots over on Steam the ship looks in a far more complete state. Around the back here we can see through the into the interior, as the ship doesn't appear to be completed. But at any rate, that's not too much of a problem, as for now we just want to fly around and see what this is all about. So over on navigation we've got a few different abilities to mode selections. We can look at the galactic map, the local stellar body region, and we can see a whole bunch of different stars to which we can travel, and then we can choose the star system mode, which will allow us to navigate around inside the current star system. There's just a few of the star systems that we can travel to, and we go to one or two of those slightly further into the video. At any rate, we are currently situated within the solar system. We're at Earth. I think we should go to Mars. We've got a little bit of target information over to the side. Mars is a rocky planet with a thin atmosphere that orbits at an average distance of 1.5 astronomical units. Sounds good. So let's scan that target, send the destination to the helm, and then we're going to have to head over to the other console and pilot the starship to Mars. Now, apparently the idea eventually, if not already, will be to play this in the multiplayer, so different players we'll be able to sit at different consoles, issuing different commands to the ship, controlling different functions. Now you can pitch and yaw your ship so that it lines up with your target, or you can use sensor information to autopilot and navigate it towards the destination automatically, and that seems a little bit easier given the distances involved here. And there you can see the ship is orientating itself towards Mars. Once that's done, we can engage FTL and make our way towards Mars. I'm going to jump out to an exterior shot here yet again, and we'll see Mars juddering by there, going off into the distance, but you know what? The textures are pretty nice for that particular planet. So there's some pretty impressive speeds going on here. We're moving very, very fast. Our target is coming up already, very close, at half an astronomical unit, and getting closer by the second. Now as we approach Mars, you'll see that Mars also has a pretty nice texture. What I would like to see is the ability to park in orbit here and slowly travel around the planet. There doesn't seem to be any way to automatically do that, unfortunately. And there we have it, parked inside or in orbit of Mars. Now we can use this as a slightly opportunity to have a look at the texture of the ship again. We can see all the parts that are missing. Again, not sure why that's happening right here on this particular demo, as the Steam screenshots do seem to show a more fully functional ship, at least in terms of the exterior model. Okay, now in just a moment we're going to have a look around the interior of the ship, but before we do that, I thought you'd like to see Saturn. The textures here are far less impressive than what we've seen on Earth and Mars. Again, this all seems to be a tech demo and a work in progress. Now, I perfectly understand if some people are not at all impressed by this, but keep in mind this isn't a final game. I think this is really kind of a proof of concept, and for that, it does kind of work. But also, and on a personal note here, just my own opinion, I find it very hard to look past the heavy-handed Star Trek themes, especially when it's not really a Star Trek game. But when it comes to a proof of concept, yeah, just maybe we should have had a Star Trek game like this. At any rate, as you can see right here, we can walk around the interior of the ship, and in many regards the interior is very nicely modelled. Now there's a lot of empty rooms, they're all pretty much black and empty. There's also quite a few rooms that are full. Beyond that, you can't do too much other than walking around. There's a few panels that you can interact with, and it seems that you can distribute power to the ship and power down and power up various different quadrants and rooms. There's also a few items laying around that you can pick up. Random items, it seems. Pick these up with the left mouse button, bring them closer to the camera and further away using the mouse wheel, and it seems there's a certain amount of physics that have been applied to them. Now, as we get to the centre section of the ship, you can see there are a variety of decks here. This is Deck C, Science Labs. And as far as I can see at the moment, many of the rooms here seem to be empty. Also, there's a work in progress panels which aren't really doing anything just yet. And yep, eventually, just maybe, these will be filled with certain rooms that players will be able to participate in a variety of different activities that are relevant to the ship. And yes, wasn't thinking earlier, we can go third person, and again you can see the inspiration to the uniform here. The most interesting deck though is Deck F, because here is engineering. There's also a few NPCs walking around here. They don't do a whole lot, they do interact with a few panels. It seems that this room has some sort of resources in these containers. We can see that slowly decreasing. Not quite sure what that is for. The main attraction though is what seems to be the reactor room. Look at that, this is pretty impressively designed actually, at least I kind of feel so. And again, there's not a whole lot you can do here, but you can interact with some of these panels you can see off to the side, and that really allows you to control the power distribution and where it's routed to on the ship. And finally, before we leave off, I just want to show you one other thing, which is travelling between stars. Now there's no loading screen here. This kind of works similar to how it does on Space Engine. It's all pretty much seamless. You can just travel directly from one star system to another. We're here at Wolf 359, a very famous star system if you're into Star Trek lore. There's not too much here in the way of planets, unfortunately, and yes, that star is overwhelmingly blinding. I guess you shouldn't expect too much else being this close to it. Inside the ship, it's equally as blinding. In fact, yeah, it's amazing we can see anything whatsoever. And just look at how those light rays are shining down there on the captain's and exo seat. Actually, at this point I thought I'd try something out. Going over to this console here, what would happen if we raised the shields? Would that give us a little bit more, be able to see things a bit better? Kind of, but those rays are still blinding the captain. Far from ideal, actually. Lastly, let's have a look at one of the planets in the system, which is, well, more or less a lava world. Pretty interesting design. So then, overall, as it stands right now, Starship Simulator is very much a tech demo. It's a proof of concept that is more than a little bit heavily inspired by Star Trek. But if all of that is your thing, there's absolutely no reason not to try the demo out. It is entirely free after all, and for right now, the developers don't seem to be selling anything whatsoever over here on Steam. So, you know, kind of no reason not to give this a test. At any rate, do let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.